Yeah. So I am very excited to talk to you, and I hope that you'll indulge me a little bit on. So I'm a fan of pass through frequencies. You know, watch from like Mark
Oh,
Hoppus
yeah.
on, and there's not enough episodes really. So I guess my first question is, will you do that again? I don't know.
Yeah,
Bring
I'll
this
definitely
back a
do it
little
again.
bit.
It's sort of it's just me doing everything, so it takes a long time.
I get
And
that.
now that like the band endeavors have it's been, the full band endeavors have been able to happen again. There just hasn't been quite enough time. And also anybody I would talk to, their band endeavors are starting again, so it's harder to
Totally.
get people, it was sort of like just the perfect confluence of events
I
that
know.
I was home with nothing to do, and neither were any of my friends. So I could, like, you know, hey Ben Gibbard, what are you doing? Nothing. Want to be on a podcast? Sure.
Totally. And
Like,
that's it.
okay, cool.
And your platform, it just is given to you, the content machine that was March 2020 and the duration of that year.
Yeah, as traumatic as that whole period was, it wasn't entirely all bad.
Yeah, silver linings all throughout,
Yeah, a
as
mixed
long
bag,
as you can have that
a,
perspective.
a mixed bag of high amplitude.
Totally. That's life. But I mean, even, so for those that don't know, pass through frequencies, the crux of it all was basically songwriting. I mean, some episodes you get into like nerd talk, if you will, for lack of a better term, with, your studio gear and, that sort of thing. But that's all part of the songwriting process, is it not?
Yeah, I
So
mean, we live in this world of music and recording music and performing music, and it's really just the only thing we talk about when we get together. So it was basically like an opportunity for me to hang out with friends and rap about the stuff we would have talked about had we been hanging out in person, and then put
totally.
it out on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of songwriting, though it runs deep, I kind of want to ask you like a twofold question. So I love songwriting. However, a little bit about me. I it's the most intimidating thing that I can think of. I have stuff written that nobody's ever heard before. Nobody has ever heard. So if I can ask you this twofold question, it would be, for the novice songwriter, somebody that's maybe a hesitant songwriter, what can you say to those getting their feet wet, or to the seasoned songwriter? What's some of your best advice? What's your best advice for somebody that like needs a growth spurt or that has simple writer's block? It's loaded, so
Yeah, it's
take
a
your
tough question.
time.
I think that the fundamentals apply to both people, both types of people, and it's something that something I struggle with all the time too, is just to remember that you don't let the don't let this idea of judgment stop you from working on something, that stop you from chasing an idea. You know, uh, don't let the idea of creating something perfect stop you from chasing an idea. And
Ooh,
nobody has to hear it ever. I mean, I have tons of stuff that sucks that no one is ever going to
that
hear.
never leave those four
And
walls.
yeah, I mean, and I have tons of things that I've chased. Yeah, here's an idea for something. I'm going to explore it. I'm going to develop it. I'm going to flesh it out, and it doesn't have to necessarily become a song. It just has to be something cool, and really let the idea inform the next idea and see where that goes. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where it goes as long as you're trying to go. I mean, you can always come back to it and edit, like take bits of it and cannibalize it, and okay, so most of this idea is total trash, but this section right here is, I kind of like this. I'm going to take this part out and I'm just going to make that into something, and maybe that does become a song. And I think that's true for people that are maybe have a maybe don't think they're songwriters, and it's people who are songwriters who still think they're songwriters. It, it's the same, like you can just don't future trip your way out of uh you know finding something rewarding in the present.
It's very cool. It's wise because you have you're a tenured musician who you've probably written starting with lyrics, starting with drums, starting with guitars, doesn't matter. But process, I'm sure, is It's probably different from whatever the output ends up being.
Yeah, how much time do we have in this interview?
Yeah, really. This is my last thing I got going on today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of I don't know. It's rare. Lyrics don't really happen first. I mean, unless it's unless you would count like uh cannibalizing, like
It's a good word.
fleshing out bits of like journal writing and fitting that into existing music. Like I was never the type of person that would just like write poetic prose with the intention of putting music to it later. Like I've just never really worked that way, you know. Like my shortest path from thought or feeling to music has just been like picking up a guitar and seeing where that goes, and then later on, uh you know, I usually have like a sense of melody and phrasing for like that could happen over a bit of just music, but it's rare that lyrics, like set lyrics, would happen then. You know, it's always something always something I struggle with and like edit forever.
Mm. Cool. Yeah. And well, even so with guitar, you know what makes me think of is I don't know if you're familiar with the some kind of monster documentary that Metallica did for Saint Anger.
Oh, who
So
isn't?
like they hear like Kirk is like mulling over like, do we put solos into this album? Like the band that gave us iconic solos. Like you take the Black Album, it's full of just the most beautiful solos. And what's cool about you guys, I mean, like take Bleed American, you have solos in there. There's stuff you look forward to inside of those songs, and I love it.
There
So,
are solos in there.
what do you think of? I don't know, even just solos. That's my question. What do you think of solos?
Yeah,
Is it dead?
I think I've been no, I think it's there's something valuable in that. I don't know. It just I I feel like there's a place for going away in a song, like like going away, you know. And but you have to, that has to be interesting. Uh and a lot of the times I'm thinking about what's the main focal point for this section in a song. And when there's a vocal, obviously it's going to be the vocal. But when the vocals go away, I'm just kind of still in that mindset. Like there needs to be some sort of like what's the main focal point I want to pay attention to when this section of the song is going over. And I guess that just turned into instrumental leads of some kind. Uh, and since I you know I'm most comfortable playing guitar, it sort of turned into guitar solos. But I'm not like a great solo guitar player.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I just try to keep it within the music, the you know, my musicianship sense. Like here,
If it serves the song, sure.
I am never going to be able to play a Kirk Hammett solo, but I can probably play an Edge solo. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
noodle
very
around
ambient.
until I find some kind of like as basic. There's something rewarding in I'm sure there's something rewarding in just shredding as if you can, just going for it and shredding. I mean, the dudes in Dream Theater must be like just stoked because they can shred and that's
Yeah.
what they're doing. I can't do that. So like I kind of go the other way and I look for like what is the least amount of effort, the least shredding thing I can do that still is interesting for the kind of music I'm trying to put a lead into. And then it's just about um you know, theme and variation, trying to develop that into like building on it a little bit more, maybe taking that somewhere else and coming back as like a mini going somewhere else and coming back to the whole song. Uh, you know, trying just to kind of play within my range, you know, like and see if I can make something that feels like a good focal point for that section within those restrictions.
Because even like the Something Loud, which is it's the newest single, I mean, not that it's soloing, but I appreciate the guitar work. So whether we want to call it soloing, it's almost as if it's a subjective term because it's like you have your Kirk Hammett solos, you have your John Petrucci solos. They're different, and some will have feelings, some will just be like, I'm going to impress you.
Yes,
But
I'm going from
I
5/8 to 9/16, and
totally, yeah, like I was keeping up. Now I'm lost. Uh, I think I think it's cool that you serve the song in the way that you're doing your songwriting because like we've been playing you the something loud and towards the beginning there's just a cool little lick that I
yeah,
look forward to in songs
yeah,
and
like
you do
the
it.
sort of it's just I think something loud came about, coming out of the pandemic times, when we couldn't really do much, uh, not even really get together and jam. It's sort of we really felt like it was important to come up with something that was fun to play, just as us as people to play, um, and that was brewing, and it sort of became something loud. There's something really satisfying with just a soaring guitar lead that is
Sets you up for
I don't know. You're sort of adopting a character in a way, or I feel
cool.
like I'm adopting the character of dude on stage playing guitar. Uh, and I also a dude on stage playing guitar, which is funny, but it's like in my head I still think like, oh, I get to be the dude on stage
Totally.
shredding. But it's funny because that's me actually.
Mhm.
Like, while that's happening, I don't know. I'm an insane person,
It's great.
uh, by the way. So that
I'm gonna cut that up and put that in. I do imaging for
yeah,
our
sure.
station for
No,
the
that
X.
that'd be great for
Yeah,
like
leading into
any.
any and every Jimmy Eat World song. Like, hi, I'm Jimmy Atkins, and I'm an
I'm an
insane
insane
person.
person. Hi, I'm Jim Adkins, professional musician and insane person.
There we go. I didn't talk over you so that I could get that whole thing. Very cool. Cutting it up later. Well, so I mean, not that something loud is about this, but something very fascinating to me, and we'll kind of close up with this. Is I I don't know how to necessarily dance around this because it's not to make us feel old. Like we're the same. We grew up listening to the same bands, I am sure, but this almost like misplaced nostalgia that surrounds Jimmy Eat World. So there's people our age that have listened to this, like they say, let's go with Bleed American again, came out 2001. Uh, I will play, say, The Sweetness on the air or Sweetness, and then I'll get tweets from girls that are like, oh my gosh, you're pulling in ninth grade for me. And that's so nostalgic. I'm like, when did this become nostalgia? And I guess that's my question is when the heck did this become nostalgia?
Aging's not a choice.
Totally.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's sort of that's a good question. I don't know. I just think it's it's it continues to be a very flattering experience that people find something in what we do they can connect with. And there's new people are still finding that. New people are still finding that, discovering it, and old people are continuing to find things they connect with. There's not there's
You
there's
do.
there's some music I put on when I was that I remember really liking from high school, and it just doesn't hit the same way. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, it might the life experience branding to that time in my life is still kind of cool, but relating to what the song might actually be saying or do, or I don't know, there's just sort of a disconnect with who I am now. So people that have stuck
Yeah.
around and are there still now and keep coming back to our gigs, like that means a lot because I know it's there's been a couple albums that have been put out since Bleed American, and that record is
Yeah.
still something that you have in rotation is a big deal for us. Like for
It's
any
hey,
musician, for any musician that people take the time to connect with it, it's and live with it and keep it around is just a huge deal. So
yeah.
we're always flattered and grateful for that.
It marked a moment in time. So what that's worth. It's the longevity that comes with it, and certainly that's, I guess, where nostalgia comes in. Is it's a subjective term, really. So it's whatever you're looking back. Like, what's the good old days? Is the good old days the 60s, 70s? Is it pre-cell phone? You know, whatever. But what's
Yeah,
your
no,
good old days?
yeah, I don't know. I think I guess uh when things are forming, I guess when you're discovering things about yourself, I guess,
When we
and
didn't
music
have
that is,
responsibilities, maybe.
yeah, yeah, maybe some of that too. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. That's a good question.
yeah. But I think it's cool because Jimmy Eat World, I mean, especially whenever everybody latched on to those singles. Just I keep referencing Bleed American, but it was huge when it was happening, and it still is because it's funny. Like I have my hand at some like borderline classic rock stations, and somewhere along the lines, it became in that set. Like you are with Ozzy and you're with like Van Halen, but you're still with your newer stuff too. And I'm just like, when did this happen? It's great.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man.
It's
Like,
classic rock.
sure. I mean, I grew up listening to stations like that, and
It's wild.
along with everything else that was around, like it. I guess it is sort of weird. I'll be bummed out if you hear Middle next to Lady in Red. But besides that,
Yeah,
like
easy
I don't
listening.
think, yeah, or maybe Esteban. But besides that, besides that, it's totally cool. I get it. Put Boston into Jimmy Eat World. That's all right.
It's
Or
you're in the right spot.
maybe
Absolutely.
maybe even Cetera would be pushing it. Like Cetera would be like on the borderline of like whether or not I'm weirded out. But
Ooh, hey, I'll let you know when that happens. Um,
okay, yeah,
but I mean, so we got Four Chord Music Festival happening September 9th and 10th, which you guys will be on the 10th, that Saturday. I don't know if you'll be in town beforehand to, catch up with any of these bands. You got Bad Religion and the Descendants. So a big, big festival that I'm super stoked that you guys are able to see Washington Connie. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
awesome, man. We can't wait.
And there's no Locust this year. They were a few years ago.
No locust plague.
I this particular venue that you'll be at, I was there for some ball game, and there was a girl singing the national anthem, a little 14-year-old girl singing a national anthem, and the locusts around that particular area were insane. Got hit in the face with a locust, and so I start freaking out during the national anthem, and that's my memory of Wild Things Park. So it'll be better whenever I see Jimmy World this year.
That's sort of a
No
good
locusts.
that's sort of a good practice for like performing, like so you don't get psyched out if you're on stage, like have someone throw locusts at you
It's
when you're
probably
rehearsing.
yeah. Part of the conditioning.
Yeah. Nothing's going to
Sheesh.
trip you out if you're on stage and something goes wrong if you're used to having locusts randomly thrown at you when you're rehearsing.
Well, then last question. What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you on stage? I don't know, injury wise, maybe,
Oh
or embarrassing.
man. I mean, like we've played gigs in basements where there was like pipes overhead and questionable liquids dripping on us.
You survived.
Yeah, I mean we've played in frigid temperatures, and we played in gale force winds and excessive like Warped Tour parking lots in the
Yeah.
summer. Oh God. Oh God.
Just hot.
I can't, but none of it's, I wouldn't, some of it's definitely less great than others, but it's all like, it's a story now. In the
Yeah, I'll
moment,
live for the
you might
story.
get all bummed out about it or whatever, because it's not the greatest thing, but you know, later on, like you're still grateful for it because
Yeah.
it's like, how was the show? Good. End of story. But now it's like, oh man, that one time when the sewage line exploded, like it's a gift. Some of the bad
It
shows
is a
are just
gift.
gifts later on.
Hmm.
You don't
And
realize
then
it.
you can elaborate on it more as you tell your grandkids the tall tales of having
Yes,
stuff
it's all.
dripped on
I
you
was
in
there when the
basements.
power went out 6 times during the show.
Yeah. Cool. Man, all right. I'm super stoked to be able to have talked with you. I think it's going to be a good show. And then you got the tour basically happening September through October. So, all right, Jimmy, till next time.
All right, take care. I'll see you.
Thank you. See you.